Kevin.
Hey, Louie.
How has it been, girly girl?
It's been good. And this is you in the flesh, in the person.
I'm a little bit wet. It's a
That's just because I'm here.
Yeah. It's a steamy New York night. Me and Gavin are trapped in his back room. The fan's off.
The fan is off. That's all for your listening pleasure at home. I want everybody
We're
to know.
sweating for you, babes. Hi, everyone. This is the Mixed Reviews.
We're a film podcast where we take a film subject, such as an actor, director, or a mini genre, and then we take 2 weeks, watch so many goddamn movies, and then we spit out a whole history for you, and then we tell you what we like and what we don't like.
Yeah, we mix up those reviews real good.
We do.
We're not alone today.
No, we're not.
Oh, no.
Not the oh no. We have a very special guest. Please welcome to the stage, Kevin. Hi. Hello.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
Huge honor to be on here. I've been listening to you guys for a few years. Definitely one of my inspirations to start my own podcast, so thank you so much.
Shut up.
Zooming in from the great state of Oklahoma.
Great state? Okay, sure.
My boyfriend's family lives in Tulsa. So,
Do they?
yeah.
Okay.
And I went to school in North
sorry.
Texas, which is close-ish to Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And I was just in South Carolina, which is very similar,
Yeah.
I think,
It's
in terms
the
of
United
politics.
States. Yeah.
We love geography.
Yeah.
Before we jump into today's episode,
Yes.
or this episode, we have a little bit of old business.
Just a tiny bit.
Our last episode, we talked about the icon, Regina Hall.
Oh, my goodness.
Had so much fun watching with her.
Yes.
Had so much fun getting into the discourse online with folks, talking about her filmography and what she has coming up. She has a lot of stuff in the fire.
So many people are excited about the Best Man final chapters.
I know, yes. As they should be. But we asked you guys to go online and vote for your favorite movie, and here are the results. In last place was Other with 7%. We didn't really get anyone saying what it was, though.
I think we got maybe one, but now I can't even remember what it was, so...
Whatever that movie is,
Yeah.
I'm sure it's great.
We're glad you love it. Other than that, don't throw your vote away. Don't vote Other.
Yeah. In second place, we got Girls Trip with 21%. And I say in second place because we have a tie for first place. Scary Movie, which was my pick, and Support the Girls, which was your pick, both came in at 36%, which I think is just the perfect, the range. The
Yes.
range.
Well, it proves that she can do so much because Scary Movie is such a broad comedy, and I don't want to say anything bad about it because our new fans on TikTok will say mean things to me about not liking Scary Movie.
Gavin has waded into the dangerous waters of TikTok, and I'm scared for you.
Let me tell you, as a TikTok old man, not a TikTok teen, it's scary there. And then you get the dramatic chops that come out in Support the Girls, as well as the comedic beats, but just really able to show that range from ultra silly to very indie serious.
Yeah. Kevin, what do you like with Regina? Any thoughts? Any feelings?
I was listening to your episode and I was like, I was just like, one of them has to pick Scary Movie, and I assume somebody's going to pick a more dramatic Support the Girls. And I mean, the thing with Scary Movie, it's like, yeah, if you watch it now, you're just like, ugh. But 8-year-old me,
Yes.
It's still fucking hilarious. And do I laugh at jokes that I shouldn't be laughing at? Yes, but I'm laughing because the 8-year-old me is just like,
These are bones.
This is a skeleton. This is bones.
Gavin was mentioning earlier, people on TikTok were saying, like, it's not for you, blah, blah, blah. Which, like, it's valid, and it's also not, like, there are things that shouldn't be made for anyone. But, Scary Movie, the thing that I took away from that, like, though, I think it was, for a lot of people, especially Black women, like, that seeing themselves on the screen, and being able to poke fun at themselves, and being able to take the piss out. And Brenda, like we said, it was really smart. It's fucking funny. She stole the entire movie.
And deservedly so. Cindy is a dumb white blonde bitch.
Yes. Yes. So Brenda stands. Thank you for voting. Regina, we cannot wait to see what else is coming down the pipeline. But we are moving on.
Moving on. So this week, we have an extra special subject. Kevin, when you contacted me, I was on your show, Almost Major, and you were like, hey, would you ever be into picking this next subject? So could you please tell our audience who we're going to be talking about today?
we are going to be talking about Juliette Lewis.
Mm-hmm. We're getting kooky and we're getting booky.
We certainly
boy.
are. Now, my initial reaction when you pitched Juliette Lewis was no.
Why is that? Why is that?
I want that on the record. And only because, not because I don't think she's a good actor. I think she's actually a fantastic actor. But it was her connection to the Church of Scientology, which is waters that we here at the Mixed Reviews don't really want to wade into,
right.
In all honesty.
Yeah.
But you told me a amazing piece of information that as of December 2021, she has renounced her affiliation with the Church of Scientology.
And I read that and I was like, did somebody edit this so that I could do the episode? Because I was like, I did not even know that. I was like, oh, and then I looked and I was like, actually, she just left. Yay.
It was surely a quantum leap moment.
Yeah.
History changed for the better. But that's what I meant by that. We all watched Quantum Leap. I'm not ancient. Anyways.
Yes, I know what Quantum Leap is, Gavin. You fucking nerd.
It's on MeTV right now. Yeah.
It probably is at a mini marathon. R.I.P. Dean Stockwell. But I think what's really interesting about Juliette Lewis is the way that she sort of fully throws herself into these roles, which is not to say that anybody else we haven't. I feel like I say that about a lot of actors we cover. But she's the Legacy, which I didn't know about. And I had seen her dad in many films. I've seen Westerns before. He's there. But finding out like her backstory and how she comes from this family that like encouraged her to be emancipated from them. And it's a wild childhood that leads to this wild personality.
Yeah.
And I think she's kind of a fascinating subject to delve into.
Kevin, I want to know, like, why did you bring her to us? What was your, like, inspiration?
Well, I'm a child of the 90s, but I'm also just obsessed with 90s actresses, and that also stemmed from Yellow Jacket starting, where we have her, and we have, everybody else on that, and I was just like, there's just, and like all this, when I think about her, I don't think about movies from like 2010, even though she has good late career stuff, but like I just saw all the 90s stuff, and it was just like, that would be very interesting to get into. Not to spoil my experience with this, but not all of them were that interesting to get into, but
welcome to the Mixed Reviews.
Yeah, but regardless, like even the ones that weren't even that good, she was always a shining star in it, and it was always doing her thing. I could always rely on her. It was just more so everything around her.
Growing up, whenever you saw her in a movie, it's like, oh, it's that girl. Like, even when I was too young to know who she was, I was just like, oh, I always know that she fucking brings it, and she's such a like specific energy. I feel like, and we'll get into it as we go through her career, like she's kind of always operating on like one of two modes. It's either like innocent, demure girl or like fucking wild child, like just Yellow Jackets level shit, Finding the places in between was interesting, and we'll probably see that as we go later into her career. But I'm excited because, like you said, Kevin, there are a lot of movies she made where it's like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
But also, she was like, I feel like her and Parker Posey were like the faces of the 90s independent, Sundancey level stuff where it's like cool, weird shit.
But it's interesting that you bring up Parker Posey because I do think you couldn't pick more sort of opposite in tactic types of actresses, because they both play these have a tendency to play these very quirky, eccentric characters, but Juliette Lewis is usually kind of broad. It's usually these big, like, she's throwing herself whole hog. And Parker, who we've done an episode on before, like, she's usually more reserved, more quiet, sardonic.
Internal.
And it's interesting to watch them, too, because they do actually end up in a movie together, Mixed Nuts, which I doubt we'll really talk that much about. But, but it is funny. She often brings it up, too. And I think what's interesting, too, is I think she likes those performances where she's able to tone it down just a tiny bit. Because whenever, and I found this at least 3 times, whenever anybody brings up Natural Born Killers and the way it's lasted and the statement it's made on society, she almost always follows it up with, But yeah, I made a small Nora Ephron comedy after that. Nobody talks about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's mixed nuts, yeah.
You're like, and there is a reason.
I followed up Natural Born Killers with a Nora Ephron comedy. I love telling the story because you're also, your career trajectory, you become known for what hit.
Right.
And I did a Nora Ephron comedy with Steve Martin and Adam Sandler and Madeline Kahn right after Natural Born Killers. Had it hit, had people seen it, I would have been a genius.
Okay, very cool. Well, why don't we get into our rewind and get to know Juliette Lewis a little bit better.
Juliette Lake Lewis was born on June 21st, 1973 in Los Angeles, California. Her father, Jeffrey Lewis, and his first wife, Glennis Batley, who was a graphic designer. Jeffrey Lewis was an actor. She has 7 siblings or half-siblings. When she was 2 years old, Lewis's parents divorced, and she spent her childhood living between both of their homes in L.A. And her first on-screen appearance was an uncredited bit part in Bronco Billy, in which her father played a sporting role. That's a Clint Eastwood movie.
So my dad did early on, a lot of Clint Eastwood movies, a lot of, he did High Plains Drifter. So the first movie sets were like, the makeup and hair people taking care of my dad's, ramshackly little kids while he goes and works. Mm-hmm. And we just sort of had a lay of the land. The set that they weren't shooting in was our playland. Guys would be bloodied and this and just hanging out, drinking coffee. And it was the world of make-believe.
Lewis made her first major screen appearance in the TV film Home Fires. She was sort of praised for this performance. And then she started immediately doing sitcoms.
Was she like, the family biz was always the thing? Like, yeah. It was just like, no question?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it seems...
I heard that she was more so like into music at first, and then she was doing this.
That makes sense.
Always like entertainment as a type of thing. She always wanted to express herself, but it was never like, I'm going to be an actress. It was always like she did piano, and then she did this, and then this, and it was just like kind of a natural progression into acting.
Because she has released music, correct?
Oh, she has released so much music.
Yeah. I Googled, I was trying to find the movie Bleeding Romeo, or what the fuck it's called.
Romeo is Bleeding?
Sure.
Bleeding Romeo.
And I Googled Romeo, Juliette Lewis, and she has a song called Romeo, and I was like, it's like a music video. I was like, okay.
While she's wandering around doing her TV work, starring in I Married Dora, which is a TV series from 87 to 88, at age 14, she was legally emancipated from her parents on their suggestion.
Wild.
My parents helped me get emancipated from the child labor laws. When you start acting when you're younger, you talk to other actor kids and their moms, and they're like, yeah, if you want to get the job, they like on your resume to say emancipated minor versus minor, because you then can work over 8 hours.
That?
Cool.
Yeah. I mean, like, mom was like, honey, if you're going to get that fucking part, we need to get out of the house.
For a little bit, she was living with actress Karen Black, whom I love, and at age 15, she decided to drop out of high school and pursue acting full-time.
That's fucking... I mean, that is kind of radical. She's saying it sounds radical, but it is.
It's
like,
absolutely...
That's not normal for most people.
Yeah. You'd be like, Mom, I gotta get out of here. I gotta be in Christmas vacation. You're holding me back.
Yeah, you're holding me back, Mom.
I have to be the third Audrey. Yeah, it's such an odd thing to be like, oh, for the business portion, it's better if you aren't living with us. If you are...
So she had to move out of the house.
Yeah, because she was no longer legally, like,
right.
seen as their child.
Right. Imagine at 15... I mean, but I guess if you grow up fast, your dad's in movies, you're around sets all the time.
Right.
Being emancipated, and then 4 years later, you're going to be in Natural Born Killers.
Yeah,
right.
Jesus.
I know.
Like, that's insane.
It's bonkers to remember how young she is in that movie, especially because that portrayal doesn't feel young.
No,
it feels very lived in. And I know we're going to get to that. I know there's a weird jumping point to, like, move into that.
Kevin's like, fuck it, I'm hard for this movie. But no.
We'll get into it. Yeah.
But I will say, I think it's really hilarious that she makes that movie and then but like 2 years later makes From Dusk Till Dawn, in which she's playing considerably younger.
Mm-hmm.
And but anyways.
So weird.
So she has talked about that she doesn't really have any training. She took a couple classes.
I did go to a cold reading workshop when I was 11, but I went to 3 classes. It was this lovely woman who had taught just a handful of kids in her backyard, and we would read scenes, and I guess I developed a sense of improvisation. But basically I learned the one thing for auditions is when you're given material in 5 minutes to look at the line, make it your own, and say it, to commit to it. I mean, that is an art in and of itself. Anyway, she died the 3rd time I went. It's funny and tragic, funny now. But at the time, I was like, I'm not going to class anymore. That's so sad.
She keeps saying these things like, I know how it sounds, but guys, it's super chill. Don't worry about it.
I think she's such a nervous interview that it makes for such a good interview.
Yeah, I get that.
Because she's just kind of like, I'll just say whatever, and you can piece it together.
Very manic, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And but she, you know, she's talked about she grew up with a big imagination, and so it was easy for her. That like, somebody found a really old interview clip of her being like, acting is lying, and I've just been really good at lying, and it like cuts back to her.
I fucking love that.
It cuts back to her, and she's like, that little shit.
Try to really feel like death is near and really put myself in that head frame for hours on end. I mean, I don't understand that. I just understand that acting is lying, and you can lie a million different ways, but you are faking it.
I love that. That's
What a
1995.
smart ass. That's all I see.
I mean, I just love like how unpretentious she kind of like sees all this. And that's probably just because she grew up in it and is seeing, there was never any romance, right? It was just like the work.
Well, that's the thing, is it's work. Yeah, it's absolutely work. I mean, and once again, not to harp on the emancipation thing, but it's wild to me that she'd be like business-minded at 14 and be like, listen, I got it, like walking in with like a briefcase and a power suit and being like, Mom, Dad, I'm out of here. She gets a small part in the science fiction comedy My Stepmother's an Alien, and then her first major supporting role is the aforementioned National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. I think this is maybe the first time I saw her as a kid.
Had to have been for me too, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I probably saw, I've seen this movie but I didn't clock who she was, you know,
right.
like obviously.
But it is a performance that I found memorable, but I also think it's because as a child, I think by the 3rd Vacation movie was when I picked up on the fact that the kids were different.
Different kids, yeah.
At each time, and she was so radically different looking than the previous Audrey, because the previous Audrey, and you know, it was a heavier set person, and also she was seemingly older and then was suddenly younger.
Yeah.
And so, but other than that, I don't know if there's that much to say about Christmas Vacation, other than I know there's people who watch it every year. I'm not a Christmas movie person, so I don't.
It's a classic. It's a good bar movie.
Yeah. The shitter's full. That's what I remember mostly from it. She followed roles in the independent dystopian film Meet the Hollowheads, which I did watch. And that's
a wild time.
Yeah, that is definitely like a VHS little curio. It was directed by Thomas R. Berman, who's also a makeup artist. And because he's a makeup artist, it's like every chance they get, they're like, here's some pink goo, and here's some meat slicing off of a thing, and here's some like, big prosthetics. And it's like
famous makeup artist trick, meat slicing.
Yeah, it's like, got it, dude. Got your gooey gag.
When I watched that, I saw that it was on YouTube, and I was like, this looks like somebody ripped it on VHS. I was like, Amazon has it for 99 cents. It says it's in standard definition. Yeah, I'll do that. It's the same exact copy that's on YouTube.
It's the same brand. I like previewed it on Amazon and was like, oh, I avoided that. I avoided giving my 99 cents to...
They gotcha, Kevin.
She also is in The Running Kind, which is another movie I fully watched and then was like, oh, she's like in 3 scenes, so great. But she's still sort of doing TV back and forth. But her first big break comes from Cape Fear.
Yeah.
She plays Danielle Bowden, the daughter of a family targeted by psychopathic criminal Max Cady, played by Robert De Niro. It's a Scorsese film, comes out in 91. It's funny, she talked about this because her career was really moving in this direction she didn't want it, which, once again, just pointing it out that she's like 17.
Yeah.
And she's like, ugh, my career. So she's like, I'm retiring.
Fucking wild.
17, out of the business. And this project...
And then Marty calls.
Yeah. Well,
I mean-
so she auditions for this. She's the first person they see. And they proceed to see 500 other girls audition.
What a waste
for
of
this.
time. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't hire the first girl. And so they went all around the U.S. looking at ingenues and experienced girls and new people and went back to me. I did get called back like 4 times, and it was a really lengthy audition, but it was awesome.
She's also saying that one of the reasons that she really wanted out of the business was because doing all this television, they were really pushing her towards this like specific sitcom TV type acting.
Yeah.
They were hiring her acting coaches that were like, smile more.
Yeah.
And she's like, that's not...
She was like, guys, do you not get that I'm fucking weird?
I had done sitcoms. That's all there was offered to a young person in the acting arena. And when I had blonde hair, I was the pretty airhead. And when I had brown hair, I was the sarcastic, moody daughter. So that's as that's as silly as it was. But here's what's funny is, so I was doing this sitcom, and they actually hired an acting teacher for me to try to get me to conform. So all those things that Scorsese later validated, they were trying to tear it down. So they'd hire an acting teacher to try to get me, literally who would go, smile, to try to get me to have more energy and to not fidget, to stand up straight and be like, gee, Dad, I don't understand, and deliver, to try to get me to do that stuff, because that's what was going on TV at the time.
I did leave out, and just to travel back in time real quick, like Dr. Sam Beckett of Quantum Leap.
God damn it, Kevin.
Oh, boy.
In 1990, she does the TV film Too Young to Die, where she meets Brad
I
Pitt.
think it's pronounced Too Young to Die?
To die?
Question mark?
Yeah, don't want to leave that out. It's a film in which she plays a young woman who's coerced into murder. I know you liked it a little bit less than I did, Kevin, and I gave it I gave it like a 3-star just because I was a little surprised at like how liberal it was for the time period it was in.
I realized, I had seen this movie before when I was too young to understand it, for sure.
When you were too young to die?
When I was too young to die.
Too young to watch? Yeah.
Yeah. I think in my head, at our house, we had a DVD of this. I don't know
wow.
why. I don't know why. But I remember watching it and like not understanding it. I watched it again for this, and I was like, oh, this is very fucking dark.
Oh, yeah.
I think she's really good. And I'm just like, it's also very strange to see Brad Pitt and being like, you're not attractive at all.
That would have been 2 years before Thelma and Louise, so yeah.
Yeah.
It's just bizarre, but also that movie is just very much like, oh, this guy who wants to do the right thing, but then ends up not. But like, there's like this army guy who's like, young girl, let's not have sex and I'll take care of you. And then she's like,
yeah.
but what if? And he's like, okay. I'm like, God damn it! Like, there's.
I got kicked out of the army because I had sex with you. Get out. And you're like,
Yeah,
what?
yeah. I was like, you're not a good guy, actually. But the main thing is like the end of the movie ends and it's like, there are lots of, kids who are killed or on death row. And I was like, oh, this was fully at the time when like the government was freaking out that like teenagers were murderers.
Right.
And we needed to like have like tough on crime shit.
But also at the same time, I did appreciate that it was like, but also maybe we should rethink capital punishment because it's
well,
like
the end of the movie is like that court scene where like the lawyer is like, fuck teens, fuck, kids who are behaving badly. We need to set an example. And then the end of the movie, she's just like crumpled talking to this fucking lawyer and she's like, they're gonna kill me?
So they're taking me to death row. I'm gonna die now. I'm gonna die now.
And then the ending is like, that fucking little postscript that's like, there are hundreds of 15-year-olds who are set to be fucking killed by the U.S. government this year. Yeah. That's fucking wild.
Yeah.
Killed, fuck teens and fuck all that. That's Gavin on TikTok. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. So I was that lawyer.
Yeah,
that lawyer was me. I will say, troubling in her personal life that, as I mentioned, this is when she first meets Brad Pitt. They begin a relationship. Now, for those playing the home game, she's 16 at this point. Brad Pitt is 26.
That's not 16. That's bad. Okay.
That's really bad.
That's disgusting.
Yeah, that's really... it begins a 7-year-long relationship.
He was 26.
Damn.
He was 26.
Jesus.
Most people don't remember the fact that he had dated her because they think of like the high profile like Jennifer Aniston.
I knew that they had dated. I just didn't realize how
that long. Yeah.
that long, but also like that early in her career, and also the age difference. That's 10 whole fucking years.
Yeah,
and she's fully a minor.
She's absolutely a minor.
Whenever I get asked about the Brad questions, I'm like, do you want to talk about Rodney Rosine, my 7th grade crush? Because that was my boyfriend too.
I do
you
wanna
guys
talk
don't
about-
want to talk about Rodney.
No,
She also runs into some legal trouble at the age of 16, which makes her a total badass. And I want to tell you what it is, which is that she went to a dance club. And she was not old enough to be at the dance club. So she's charged with underage drinking. I've not been able to decipher if she was actually drinking or not. She does end up having substance abuse issues, which we'll get to later. But she has a mugshot from this. And she
I didn't see this.
Oh, yeah. She jokingly asked if she could keep it because she wanted to put it up on her wall someday. And her father, as a present later in life, actually did get a hold of it and blew it up. And it's in her living room.
Amazing. Icon shit.
Yeah. And she's like, yeah, like it gives me like street cred. But then I have to tell people like, yeah, it was just because I was at a dance club at 16.
So it's really wild though, because I think in Too Young to Die, she... compared to Cape Fear, she looks so young.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I thought she was like fucking actually 13, 14 in that movie. But it's probably because obviously in Too Young to Die, she's really sexualized, you know?
Yeah.
And dancing half naked or whatever. But Cape Fear comes after.
Yeah. I do want to say, and maybe this is the time to bring it up, and we will see this amongst many of her 90s films. She's incredibly young in this business, and oftentimes she is very sexualized.
She is.
And I know a lot of it is by quote-unquote bad people. You know, you look at the way Max Cady sexualizes her in
Right.
Cape Fear. You look at Too Young to Die. You look at Romeo's Bleeding. And you could say like, oh, well, the person who's like having these intimate relationships with her is not somebody you're supposed to be rooting for. But I do think there is something about the male gaze, because also those characters are often presented as like cool.
Yeah. I mean, even like, you can go as far as like Stranger Days, you know?
Yeah.
Like, she's always and this is the thing, I think, well,
Strange Days. But
Strange Days, sorry. But like a part of it is like, she plays broken very well.
yeah.
She's very good at it, but unfortunately a lot of these movies, it's, you know, California, like it's this all these movies where she's a victim, and not only a victim, but a victim who has to like take her clothes off, and so it just in this experience, because we watched so many of her movies in a short amount of time.
Well, that's the thing you notice is when you watch them in this compressed thing, you're like, oh no.
Yeah. And so, I mean, and that's kind of like what I was talking about earlier. She has these two modes where, like, you know, one of them for sure is delicate, broken, or taking advantage of young women. And even in, like, you know, she isn't like a sexual being or whatever in Cape Fear. I mean,
Right.
There's no like fucking. You know?
But there's a sexual undertone to it.
Yeah. That mode, I think, especially after Cape Fear, people keep going back to that well, and she keeps getting a lot of roles in that vein. But I thought she was incredible in Cape Fear.
Oh, she absolutely is. And as we mentioned, she's the daughter of this family that's being stalked by Robert De Niro. I rewatched it for this. I had not seen it in a while. I fucking love this movie.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, it's so good. And the thing that struck me, it's something different every time, but the thing that struck me so much in this rewatch was just how truly unstoppable Robert De Niro is. Like, he is a literal demon from hell sent to destroy this family.
By the end of it, he's just like, you're just like, this is Freddy Krueger. Like, this is Jason. Like, he's just
the
screaming
Terminator.
Bible verses while it's pouring down. It's wild.
I thought the movie was over when she burned him. I was like, wow, she did it. And then fully nope. I was like, wow, she burned him and then he drowned.
Her most famous scene in the film is in the school. It's like a pseudo seduction. Max Cady has been calling her. She does not know that this man is a bad guy. And I love that she reiterates that in a lot of interviews, because she always talks about how people are like, oh, why would she let him get so close to her? And she's like, you forget, like, his rape of Ileana Douglas, the awful things he does to Ileana Douglas happen in a way away from her. Yeah. She's not aware of them.
She's a child also.
So she goes to meet him, who she thinks is this, like, high school theater director in her high school. And he's very creepy, very sexual. He puts his finger in her mouth.
She does, like, she's so good because she's, like, kind of intrigued. And she's at that age, you know, where she's, like, kind of learning about sex, but of course, because it's fucking in the US, no one's taught her really about this stuff. And so she's intrigued, but she does this thing where she's like embarrassed and she like kind of covers her eyes, but she's kind of like, I want to know what this is. There's someone who's interested in me.
Yeah,
and like
that's what
this guy fucking puts his finger in her mouth, and it's so good. It's so creepy, but like she plays it so well. She really has this innocence, just like down.
You thought about me last night, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
I know. Do you mind if I put my arm around you? It's okay.
No, I don't mind.
Are we going to talk about her cornrows at the Oscars now, or later?
Give it just one beat, because I do want to say something about that scene. So that scene is 3 takes.
Wow.
That is the first take. That's in the movie. And on top of that, Scorsese was like, forget what's written in the script.
Wow.
He said the one thing that's going to happen in this scene is that Robert De Niro's going to do something to you, and just go with it.
Wow.
And so that entire scene is them improvising. And I have to say, amazing, because the part that sticks with me the most is at the end of the scene, he leaves and she's there for a moment, and then you can see, like, she knows what just happened is wrong. And once again, it's not graphic by any means, but it's not pleasant either. No. And you you can read it all over her, in her body language, in her face, and she just looks so uncomfortable, and then she runs out of the room. It's pitch perfect decision making.
Yeah, it's so good.
Genius.
So, as you mentioned, she gets nominated for the Academy Awards.
I just looked up her
Had you not seen it?
I had not seen it.
Oh my goodness. I just watched an old episode of SNL last night where it was like the week after the 92 Oscars, and it opened with Wayne's World talking about like her cornrows. I was just like, oh shit, I'm going to talk about that tomorrow.
So she's, as I mentioned, supporting actress at the Academy Awards nominee, also Golden Globe nominee for supporting actress. She has been asked retroactively, like, do you regret the cornrows? And she's like, no, I was a little shit.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
ask anyone if they regret shit that they did when they're 16 or 17.
Especially in once again, I don't think it's appropriate, but also it's 91.
Yeah.
right.
White people are terrible in all time periods. Yeah, it's 91.
Yeah.
Mom and Dad. I'm gonna get cornrows, and you can't tell me nothing.
You can't tell me what to do. That's what emancipation gets you. In 92, she has a supporting role in Woody Allen's Husbands and Wives, and I played the famous Woody Allen card that we established in the Diane Keaton episode, which is that I will no longer be watching Woody Allen films for this show. So she could be the most amazing person in the movie. She could have solved world hunger in the film.
We will never know.
I will never know. She also does the movie That Night, which is a coming-of-age drama set in the 1960s.
So cute.
I love That Night.
Yeah.
The baby Katherine Heigl.
Baby Elijah Dushku.
Oh my god. Just years away from Soul Survivors, man. Oh my god.
Your favorite film?
Oh man.
You guys know that I fucking hate child actors.
Yes.
But in this movie, I love them all.
So cute.
I love them all.
Oh my goodness.
They're so good. It was very like Crybaby via My Girl.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's just so good.
This is a movie, and this is not a spoiler alert because it's so dumb. This is a movie that has the audacity to end its film with like, but that summer changed my life.
I know.
Yeah.
So cute.
But I liked this role. I liked this performance, and I liked that this was somebody that we hadn't seen from
Correct.
Juliette Lewis at
Correct.
this point because she's bleach blonde. I think a lot of people, and I think there's a lot of comparisons because of Romeo's Bleeding and because of this other independent film that I think we all saw, Room for Rent. There's a lot of Marilyn comparisons, but I would actually say this is her at her most Jane Mansfield.
Who are you?
I work here. I'm Rick.
You want to let go of my hand, Rick?
You think you can control yourself?
I'll stop shaking when you do.
I just love though, like you're seeing for most of the movie, you're seeing her through the eyes of this young girl,
And that's what makes it work.
Yeah. And it's this young girl who just like loves her, is obsessed with her, and she's just like, she has her same perfume, listens to the same records, and then finally like realizing, also just like I love like her making out with her hot boyfriend on the lawn, and all the old ladies are like mad but like also jealous.
C. Thomas Howell plays her boyfriend.
Oh, who could we forget? Okay.
Yeah.
But like this movie like gives you that outsiders feeling because it is like kind of like it's like white on white crime in this movie.
Yeah,
they're like mad, like you're white but not the right type of white. It's like okay, you fucking idiots.
Apparently she was not like the director on this. Did not get along with, and the director did not like her.
It doesn't show in the performance. I will give them that. Like,
she was contrasting Natural Born Killers, where she got to do so much stuff and improvise and whatnot, and then on this movie it was like to the T. The director, if she did anything wrong, he tried to get the other actors to like gang up on her because she wasn't doing her job right and stuff like that.
Wow.
So
what a dick.
Aggressive behavior.
It's interesting too to like listen to her talk about working with directors, because she has said that she really thinks directors she thinks of them as teachers.
Well, I'm not academically trained in the sense. Well, I'm just not.
My dad would take us out of school every now and then, like lie to the teachers we're going to the dentist and take us to Star Wars. I didn't graduate high school, but I got to see Star Wars and skip those lines. All my directors have been my teachers. That's how I look at them, as my teachers. And whether I didn't understand it at the time, I really got something from each one of them, good and bad directors, because of course I've been directed by the best that cinema has to offer.
It's interesting to hear her talk about the way different people work and how she works within that system. 93, she's in Peter Medic's neo-noir Romeo's Bleeding with Gary Oldman. We mentioned that it's not a big role. She's his like teenage lover, very Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to remember like specifics from the movie. I can't.
The only thing I walked away from Romeo's Bleeding is thinking that Lena Olin should have played the Joker at some point. Okay. Because she's so good at it.
I didn't get around to watching it, and then I was just like, let me watch the trailer, because I just know it's a neo-noir, and then I watched the trailer, and I was like, this made me not want to watch it, but I guess I'll still watch it, but then I never got to.
No, it's deranged, and not in a pleasant way. She reunites with Brad Pitt in the movie California. And she plays a kind of childlike woman who is, her boyfriend is a serial killer. I think in my brain, because it comes so close to Natural Born Killers, I was like, oh, well, she's killing people with him. And then I was like, oh no, when I rewatched it.
If this is problematic and you guys fucking tell me and we can edit it out, this movie and her portrayal of, her name's like Leah or...
Adele.
Adele. I was like, it honestly was giving notes of the other sister.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't think that's problematic. I do think I think you could, this might be problematic, but I do feel like it was a dry run for...
Yeah, I mean, because, Adele is, this, literally no shade, but she's a simple, and broken, like, again, a broken, woman who, like, she tells that really fucking horrible story to Carrie about, like, when I was 13, a bunch of boys raped me and like and hurt me real bad, and she's so convinced that this other bad guy is somehow better because he doesn't fucking rape her.
Right.
Even though he beats her, tells her she can't cuss or drink or smoke. And
he's like, he beats me, but he's never mean to me, and you're just like, Okay.
Yeah.
I think California is a wild movie. I don't necessarily love it.
No.
I also think that Brad Pitt and Juliette Lewis and Michelle Forbes are giving great performances, and David Duchovny is not.
David
just there.
Duchovny, the yes girl, give me nothing.
Yes, 100%. And the funny thing is, he was the last cast. He had to do screen tests with all of them for chemistry, and they picked him. Yeah. Anyways.
And then the voiceover, and it's also 2 hours long. Like
it's 2 hours long. I did read a really interesting reading about how it's like kind of an attack on heteronormativity, because Brad Pitt is this character who wants to force rigid, like, women do this and men do that. And you have Michelle Forbes is this very masculine presenting woman with the short hair, and she's disrupting their lives. Adele wants to have hair like her and whatnot. And I was like, oh, this is all interesting. Perhaps more interesting
than the actual movie.
Than the movie itself.
I also love that they're like, wow, look at those black and white nudes you took. So fucking crazy. You're so cool. It's like, okay, girl.
Oh my God, Carrie. If Early ever saw me in a picture like that, I'd be black and blue for a week.
You shouldn't let him do that to you.
You think Early's mean to me? Well, he's not. He may punish me once in a while, but he's not mean.
I believe it was during their time together on the film that Brad Pitt and Juliette Lewis actually break up.
Good.
She next goes on to star in What's Eating Gilbert Grape, the Lassie Hellstrom directed film from 1993, co-starring He Who Should Not Be Named.
And Leo.
And Leonardo DiCaprio.
I had never seen the movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I think it's a good... It's another movie that's tough to parse because there is the Leo performance in it. And I don't think he's bad by any means. I think he's actually very good. But it is that situation where it's like...
Yeah, what's the difference between him and this, and you're like, but it's not as embarrassing as her and the other sister. But it feels like the same note is being played, but it feels wildly different, kind of.
It is a very odd time in the 90s where we've decided that, like, actors will portray handicapped people and people with special needs.
Yeah.
And for like, in an awards baity sort of way.
Absolutely. I mean, like, we're barely in a time where people on the spectrum are being able to play themselves in TV. I mean, mostly in TV, I would say. You know, I can't recall. Yeah. I mean, these are conversations that are obviously difficult and tricky, especially because we're talking about a time period when, like, that wasn't even part of the conversation.
Right. You know? Absolutely was not. Yeah.
Leo, for better or worse, did a very good job.
Yes.
You know?
And I think he did, for being a young shit, because he truly was in that time period, I think he did a lot of really sensitive research. And I think that does, I don't know. It's so hard for me to discuss these portrayals. I have a sister who has developmental disabilities because she was hit by a car 3 months before I was born, and she's been that way her entire life. And I couldn't even make it through the other sister this time. I tried, and I couldn't do it.
Wait, you rewatched it?
I did. I tried.
Goodness, sir. Dedication to the pod.
I made it about halfway through, and I was like, I absolutely cannot. And so it is hard to watch these performances for me because. But also, like, not everybody has that personal connection, and, you know.
Yeah, I think it's like I think every viewer has to decide for themselves, you know, like, is this something that you can, you know, detach yourself from, or, like, you know, the whole death of the author thing. Like, I mean, there are people who can't fucking watch Harry Potter movies anymore, which, like, pop off. Good. I mean, great. Like, you know. Sure. It's like our decision to not watch any more Woody Allen movies.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, so I think it's, and I don't think it makes you a good or bad person either way. For some people, there's values. For others, there's not. And that it's just the nature of art. Okay, like, and so.
I will say she gives an amazing performance in this movie, and though the movie's not about her, she's the outsider in a way that she is the perspective of the audience. Like, she's the person who comes into their lives. She's a drifter. Gets to like play not like really fucking wild and not like damaged. Yeah. She gets to just, you know, kind of coast a little bit. And you get like the hints of a backstory. You get like there's a reason why she travels so much, but but I just think it's a really well performed, subdued performance.
Yep.
And I really like her quite a bit in it. Also in 93, she plays a mental patient in Melissa Etheridge's Come to My Window music video.
Oh,
yeah.
The 90s really were like a moment for her.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then 94,
Let's go.
Natural Born Killers.
Let's go.
She plays Mallory Knox.
I can in the background just have like some fucking guitars going.
Yeah.
She's a murderous woman who embarks on a killing spree with her psychotic lover Mickey, played by Woody Harrelson. It's satirical, it's outrageous, it's postmodern, it's
a fucking acid trip.
Yeah, it's all the things, Oliver Stone's really trying to get across his message about like how bad the media is and how like
sensationalized.
Sensationalized murderers like celebrities, yeah.
The romance of murder.
And then also to like play with the preconceptions that people have about things. Like to this day, I did not rewatch it for this because I'm so familiar with her performance. And she's amazing, but that opening bit with her life as a sitcom and Rodney Dangerfield
so
and it's
good.
so good, and
so
like
good.
I think it's so smart to play it that way, and it's so funny because this was a Tarantino script if I'm right? Or,
yes, but he only gets a story because they've gone through it so much.
Tarantino hates it because they like tore it apart, which I think is so funny because he then later like makes his career making postmodern films, but whatever. It's kind of a masterpiece. It's hard to like deny it's a masterpiece whether you love it or hate it, because I think you can say that in a negative way too.
And so, again, she's 19?
Yes.
Jesus Christ.
I know.
I never remember that she's 19. She seems so much older in this movie.
What's funny is like this movie has some like notes of the California relationship.
Yeah.
Just because.
Well, that's what I said. I think in my brain I'd married them. So like I needed to rewatch California so I could separate them.
And
right.
I had never seen either of these movies, and I watched Natural Born Killers, and I saw California after the fact, and I was like, oh, what she's doing in Natural Born Killers is just like, the character itself is just so much better, because it's not just I'm sad that I'm with the bad guy or like, or feel frustrated or whatever.
Right.
She's like has agency.
I was just gonna say she has a lot of agency.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And even when like she's like, fuck, why did you kill him? Like, this was like, we are not bad people. Like, we're murderers, but we're not bad people.
I'm human, Val, and I made a mistake, and you gotta understand that
you killed life. He fed us. He took us in there.
Wow, that is a harsh indictment.
They were able to give her the exact same level of fucking badassery that they give to Woody Harrelson, which it's really fucking cool.
I know you have some very complicated feelings about this movie, Kevin, so I'll
I do.
I'll give you some moments to say your piece.
It's a movie that I have like right down the middle, like 5 out of 10, but it's so fascinating, and I could talk about it because it's like what you're saying about like how he's talking about the media and all that, and it's like every single scene, it's like it'll start out, I'm like, this is amazing, this is made for me, it's so much, it's the most movie ever, it's got 16 millimeter, 35 millimeter video, all that stuff, and it's going all nuts, and then like, and then by the end of the scene, I'm just like, you have nailed the message down so hard that it makes me think you think I'm stupid and I can't read the movie. Like, and it's like that back and forth the entire time. So it's just like, I'll love it 1 minute and then I think it's stupid another minute. It's just back and forth. But the things that work in it, boy howdy, it works, because Juliette Lewis is phenomenal in this.
By the end of it, though, you're right. Like, it's like, this dog is dead, babe. Like, we get it. The news is bad. But I think at the time, though, this was probably the time when CNN had just started, and like the 24-hour news cycle was just ramping up, and so
Can you imagine a time before the 24-hour news cycle? I'm sorry,
I know.
I long for it.
But even like then, like CNN had just started. There was no social media. There was It was just like you turned on the news and like, imagine them thinking that was so sensational. When like right now we're literally people write news posts about something one person will tweet, like,
I was listening to this had Oscar Buzz episode on it again, and Joe Reed said it so best. It's just like, this movie is like with the need of like being like, violence is so bad, why do y'all like violence so much, and then having two characters that like you're making look cool while they do violence is like a dad making a son smoke an entire pack of cigarettes to make his point. It's just it's like
well, that goes back to exactly what I was saying about the sort of audience participation of like looking at these characters and the way that they sexualize Juliette Lewis and being like, yeah, he's bad, but he also is the cool guy in the movie.
Yeah.
And it does. It definitely has that issue of being like, murder's bad while the character's stabbing somebody.
Yeah, for sure.
To cartoon noises. Not to downplay Natural Born Killers, but she says to this day, people send her pictures of them as Mallory, like for Halloween.
Wow.
And she's just like,
wow,
great.
you proved the movie right. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's,
so you are romanticizing this murderess.
Yay.
Cool.
She's like, great, cool. That brings us more to like a mid-90s period. But she gets her notices, and if Cape Fear was her breakout with the nominations, this movie is the thing that sort of cements her as a 90s it girl. Which is interesting because then she immediately starts like doing tip spots. Not like...
She does. Yeah, she loves a good tip spot.
So she's in Mixed Nuts, and she's in more of it than I think I'm letting on. But it's not a huge role, even if she's in quite a bit of it. She's also in Strange Days, in which she's the subject of the film for a lot of it,
right?
But she's not in it a ton, in all honesty. And she also...
And we talk about Strange Days in our...
Angela Bassett episode. And if you want to watch Strange Days...
movie.
Yeah. Oh, I love that movie. So, but if you want to watch Strange Days for an actress, watch it for Angela Bassett.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah.
She's so amazing in that movie. And... You know, she does the Basketball Diaries in 95, in which she's literally in 2 or 3 scenes. The same year, though, she turns 22, and she goes into rehab for drug addiction. She's addicted to both cocaine and prescription medication, and she ends up completing the Narcan program, which, most people don't know this, Narcan is, or at the time was run by the Church of Scientology.
Oh, shit.
I was waiting for that back door to open.
Narcanon. I want to get
Narcanon.
Narcan is the stuff you like.
Yeah, I was like,
yes,
Narcan's
Narcan's stuff. Yeah. No. That stuff is good, and you should know how to do that, especially if you're going into a situation where you might need it. I actually got training in that at Blue Stockings, which is a great place. But that's a little plug for New York City. In 96, she does The Evening Star, which is the sequel to Terms of Endearment. Huge flop. And she also does From Dusk Till Dawn in 1996. And every time someone asks her about this movie in an interview, she's like, I did it because Quentin asked me to do it. Men love it.
A lot of guys like that movie. I don't know. I don't know why, but I get comments on it. I just did it for fun because Quentin asked me. I just did From Dusk Till Dawn, like, just for fun. He's like, hey, what are you doing this summer? My friend Robert Rodriguez is shooting this crazy vampire movie. Will you play the daughter? I'm like, yeah, okay, I could do that.
There it is.
Like, so she's just like, I don't want to talk about the vampire movie.
Can we assume that through Narcanon she gets into the Scientology world?
I believe her parents were both practicing Scientology, or at least her father was. So there was background there.
Unfortunately, I am a man and I love From Dusk Till Dawn. I'm sorry.
I think it's a fun movie.
Oh yeah, I don't have an issue with it. I'd watch From Dusk Till Dawn right now.
I love
fun vampire
so
movie.
much fun.
I also I like that the vampires look the way they look.
Yeah.
It looks so fucking weird. I'm like,
I know.
I love a good weird looking vampire. I don't like the Twilight looking vampires. I want them to look fucking like bestial.
I think it only suffers on this show specifically because we've like had an opportunity to talk about it so many times. We did a Selma Hayek episode, we did a Robert Rodriguez episode, we did a Vampires on Film episode.
Oh,
so
my
like,
goodness.
So if you want to,
take your pick, girlies.
Yeah. But she is very good in the movie, and she does have to deal with Tarantino being real creepy about her. So, but also
don't we all?
Also, like, why would you pass that up if the man who wrote it, Quentin Tarantino, asked you to be in it, and Robert Rodriguez, who's like up and coming at the time, fucking do it. Mm-hmm. In 1998, she appears in the movie Some Girl, which is weirdly a Marissa Ribisi vehicle, who is Giovanni Ribisi's sister. Giovanni Ribisi, also Scientologist.
Yes. Okay. I think Some Girl was the first movie I watched for this. Was Some Girl a play?
No.
Okay. It felt a little bit like a play to me. Also, the guy from Clueless, once again, playing an asshole. I was like, he got it down.
It's Jeremy Sisto.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man.
Like I said, it was basically made to like be like, ladies and gentlemen, Marissa Ribisi. And you see how her career turned out. So.
Three people clapped. Yeah.
Yes.
Clap if you care.
In 1999, the aforementioned The Other Sister comes
Here it
around.
is.
I did mention that we should talk about it because it's a starring role. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. I don't think anybody went into this movie
wanting to be like, fuck, people who have disabilities.
Right. I forgot how awful Diane Keaton's character kind of is.
She sucks so bad.
She sucks so much. And then Tom Skerritt, who's essentially playing the same character he played in Steel Magnolias.
Yeah, he is. Oh my god.
Where he's just like, leave my daughter alone. Yeah, it's tough. I forgot Sarah Paulson plays the
older sister.
Yeah. The other sister, by the way, to like literally in your title other someone, I think it's such a strange.
Yeah, that is fucked up.
Of course I knew going into it, as soon as she started talking, I was going to start cringing for damn near 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
But Diane Keaton, she has the weirdest trajectory where every time she's around Lewis, she's so annoyed and wants to not be around her and is so embarrassed of her. And then when she's not around her and people are just like, if she gets her own apartment, is that going to be a problem? And she like stands up for her and she's like, she's one of the greatest people I've ever met and I love her so much. And I'm just like, this dichotomy makes no fucking sense, dude.
And it's got that like very soft, it's a Gary Marshall film. It's got that very soft Gary Marshall touch. Like it's directed like one of his romantic comedies. And once again, Giovanni Ribisi's in it. Who's also playing a man with some mental disabilities. Yeah, it's hard to sit through.
I mean, I remember watching it as a young person and being like, not obsessed, but I was just thinking like, the turkey and like they want to have sex on Thanksgiving and like the marching band, which you know me, you know me, the marching bands, and so I also do think very problematic, but I think her performance she has such a gentle touch.
She's committed. The thing about this movie is I was just like, okay, yeah, it was fucking embarrassing, awkward, blah blah blah. If they were not playing those types of characters with disabilities and they were just anybody that Lewis would randomly play and anybody Giovanni Ribisi would randomly play, it's still such a boring story. Like
no, you're not wrong. Like it's a very like it's not.
Well, I mean, like because the interest, the pitch in Hollywood was like, picture this. But they have the, like, I'm sure the words they used back then were fucking horrible, So that the whole interest, the whole like reason for the plot is that she is this woman who is an adult, and who has these developmental issues, and if you take that out, it's like, what is this movie? It's nothing.
Yeah.
So therein is like the problem with the movie, right?
It's
right.
I'm gonna be a veterinarian's assistant. Wow. But to do that, I need a high school diploma.
I think the best thing for right now would be just to have a nice big long vacation and we'll explore your options later.
I would like to explore my options now, Mother.
2000 comes along and she sort of retreats to indie films. You get The Way of the Gun, you get Picture Claire from 2001, you get Gaudi Afternoon from 2001. And you get in Enough, which is maybe the most high profile, the Jennifer Lopez film.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And she plays Jennifer Lopez's friend in that movie. But is there any of those movies that you specifically want to talk about in this? Slim pickings.
Like what? So first of all, I Picture Claire was one of the first ones I watched also, and I was like, "What is this movie? Yeah. I don't understand anything that's going on. I don't. Humans don't behave this way. So what the fuck?"
It was a movie. Yeah.
If it makes you feel better, and I love Susan Seidelman, who directed Gaudi Afternoon. I feel like you could say the same thing about Gaudi Afternoon. It's like, humans don't act this way. What is happening?
It's like, if the whole idea was like, oh, I'm a French Canadian who like somehow gets embroiled in this thing. Like, she wouldn't, just because she doesn't speak English doesn't mean that she'd be like, I guess I'm murdering now, and like, what the fuck? Like, what? I don't understand. So whoopsie doodle, like, like what?
There's a lot of issues with
I will say I like that other actress. What's her name?
Oh, Gina Gershon.
Yeah, she's the best.
Yeah. Of course, yeah.
Gina Gershon.
I like that I add an accent to her.
Gina Gershon. The Way of the Gun, I saw that today, and I was like, huh.
I know a lot of men who like that movie.
I do not like that movie. We covered it for Almost Major, and that, like the first 5 minutes, I was just like, oh no. Oh, no.
Ryan Phillippe post Cruel Intentions.
He is actively bad in the way of the gun. And
his accent is
horrible.
One of the worst.
I know people who love that movie. I genuinely know people who love that movie.
It's well directed, blase.
To a point.
Right, yeah. What I said in the episode, it was just like the action, I'm watching it, and I'm more so just like, oh, he knows how to shoot a good action scene, but I'm not invested. I'm more so like putting on a film student hat when I'm watching the action scenes instead of just enjoying it. But yeah,
it's also one of those. It's also one of those movies where she's like, actually, the entire plot of this movie is not what you think because it's my baby.
Yes,
and I was like, cool exposition.
Cool. Yeah, like I'm so glad that we cared at any point about this.
The baby's mine.
Okay, I'm sorry, but by yours, do you mean that?
I mean that the Chittick's embryo didn't take, and this is my son that I'm carrying.
So that means that you and Mr. Chittick.
No. Dr. Painter.
That sneaky little quack.
But it wasn't his idea, it was mine. I made it happen because I needed the money. I made it happen.
As far as movies around this period, you know, like, because The Other Sister is like her last starring role for like, I don't know, like 10, 15 years almost.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like,
and this is also a period where once again, she is considering retirement. And once again, she's like 25, folks.
Ridiculous.
She gets an Emmy nomination for Outstanding Supporting Actress in the Mira Nair film Hysterical Blindness in 2002. She plays... I love this movie.
You fucking love this movie.
I do love this movie. So we've talked about it a very tiny bit in the Uma Thurman episode, and we talked about it extensively in the Mira Nair episode. She plays Uma Thurman's friend. I think she's fucking hysterical in this film. It's very 1980s, very big hair.
We're not talking enough about how Juliette is accent queen.
Yes.
Girly.
Oh my goodness.
She's doing Southern gal a lot, but she's also doing like New York, New Jersey gal a lot with the big hair and like, you know.
I will tell you a little bit later what accent she can't do.
Oh no. One thing about Hysterical Blindness, Uma Thurman is just peak awkwardness in that movie. And she's really
love
great.
her role in that movie. And maybe we should have talked about it more in the Uma Thurman episode, but like we talked about it so much in the Mira Nair episode, but I genuinely really like it. It's on HBO Max, folks. Just go watch it.
But the other thing, I don't know if you guys know, the tagline for the movie is in the 80s. They said love was a battlefield. They were right.
They were right. So think about that.
Yeah. Really makes you think.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
In the 90s, love was different.
It's true.
In the 90s, sometimes we run, sometimes we hide.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're scared of you.
I told you, Deb, a long time ago. You gotta learn how to relax.
I know.
I mean, it's like there's always something bothering you. Excuse me, things just don't bother me, okay? Things happen to me. Okay.
2003, she does a very real minor role in Cold Creek Manor. Like every time it cut to her, I'd be like,
"That movie, she fucking sucks, dude."
Yeah, I was like, "She's still in this movie."
I love that Kevin hates so many of these movies that he suggested we watch for this episode.
Oh, love you guys. Love this. Wanted to talk about halfway through it. I was like, Gavin, this was a terrible mistake. I'm very sorry.
I made a mistake.
This happens to us, man. This is not, And they can't all be winners, and she's got a lot of non-winners in there. But Cold Creek Manor, I think also the fun thing about it is I remember specifically when it was coming out that it was really advertised as a haunted house movie, and it's not a haunted house movie.
It's not. It's just Stephen Dorff being weird, which is like, okay, I don't need 2 hours to know that.
And she's Stephen Dorff's like angry girlfriend who like it then like 2/3 of the movie reveals that he beats beats her in front of people, and yet at the end of the movie like makes it seem like she's gonna get her revenge on his behalf. Cold Creek Manor, not a thing.
Probably my least favorite movie I watched out of this, other than The Other Sister.
Wow, that's saying a lot, because there's some other ones that were down there for me. Mm-hmm. She also does Old School in 2003, and some very funny scenes. Like
she's tip-spotting about.
Yeah, exactly. 2003 is the first time she like really commits to being like, I'm done with acting, and so she drops out and decides to form her band, Juliette and the Licks. She turns 30. She's like, I'm going to do music. Like, this is what I wanted to do for a while. There's a really great short half-an-hour documentary. You can find it on Red Bull's website. Is that where you sent me the link for?
Yeah.
Directed by Michael Rappaport, who was in Some Girl with her.
Yeah.
And it's about her. It's about the 6 years in which Juliette and the Licks were just like a band. And
cool.
The initial 6 years, by the way, because they come back.
Wow.
Yeah. She like breaks up with them. Let me condense this real quick for you. Breaks up with them, starts a solo career, gets a new band called the New Romantiques, and they are her backup band. Sometimes she's performing just with them as the New Romantiques. And then this past year, after the like pandemic started to ease, she was like, I miss music, I miss live music and whatnot. And so she's like, I'm getting Juliette and the Licks back together. And so
awesome.
Yeah. So watching that documentary, I was like, I fucking love to see her live.
That's how she got the job in Gem and the Hologram.
That is how she got the job.
Oh my
God. She does a bunch of music videos. She does Starsky and Hutch. She's in her like comedy era where she's doing like Daltrey Calhoun, which is a real piece of shit.
So funny.
Yeah, I know.
If you guys could see Kevin's face,
buy a joke, any joke. She does the French film Blueberry opposite Vincent Cassel. This is one of the films that Juliette got to be in with her dad, and they share a couple scenes together.
They were both in The Way of the Gun, but I don't think they ever crossed paths, her and her dad. Yeah.
In 2008, she's in Grand Theft Auto 4 as the...
she's in the video game?
Yeah, she's Juliette.
Playing herself, yeah.
The fictional radio station host.
Amazing.
Yeah, and so on and so forth. I just really want to get us to like 2009, where she's in Whip It with Drew Barrymore's.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
She plays Iron Maven, and she's like real antagonistic. You know, the first time she meets Elliot Page, she shoves him in a locker. And
why did we talk about this movie previously?
We talked about this movie because of pageant films.
Pageant films. There it is.
And this movie is delightful. I just don't. I get my life watching Whip It, and it makes me sad that Drew Barrymore has not directed since.
I know. I love
the fact that Steven Spielberg has been like, can you please direct again?
Yes.
Like...
I love that Juliette gets to just be like a bitch from hell. Like really unapologetic and like, you know,
throwing people in pools, getting into food fights.
Yeah,
like
it's great. And she's just like this shaggy, she looks like a rock star, which she is.
Yeah.
Hey, you're Iron Maven.
That's right. Kiss ass. Why don't you suck up a little harder? There's still part of your face that doesn't have duty on it.
She does the comedy The Switch with Jennifer Aniston, which is funny because I had never thought about it till now that like, pit exes. She pops up in Conviction doing maybe the worst Boston accent I've ever heard in my entire life. And I do want to say this. The Boston Society of Film Critics gave her the award for Best Supporting Actress.
Wow. The Bostonites welcomed her with open arms.
They said
the check cleared, yes.
They said scene stealer.
He told me that he got picked up for murder in air and that they couldn't pin it on him, and he laughed about it.
I'm like now moving along real quick. I think the next big high profile thing she does is August Osage County, opposite Julia Roberts and Julianne Nicholson. They're the three daughters in the family, and they're having returned home for their dysfunctional mother, Meryl Streep, after their father commits suicide. All set in Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm. My friend was a PA on it, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's based on the Tracy Letts play, and let me tell you, the play is much better.
Okay. I hope so, yeah.
People didn't like this movie.
No. Do you like this, Jim?
Didn't get to her because I knew she was, not Julia Roberts or Meryl Streep. But everything I've heard is, scene chewing the movie.
Yeah. I think that's the problem, is that it's so scene chewy,
Yeah, just watch the clip of Julia Roberts saying, "Eat the fish, bitch." That's all you need.
Yeah, eat the fish, bitch. That's what everybody remembers from it.
That's all you need.
she does a couple more independent films, Hellion in 2014, and Kelly and Cal in 2014.
I saw Hellion.
Yeah, I thought she was good in Hellion.
Yeah. Teen boys are scary.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It was one of those moments where I was like, oh, she is just playing a mom. Or she's not a mom, but like she's an aunt in this movie. But like, it's nothing too crazy, which I don't think we get until we do get. Like, she plays a mom and Ma.
Yes.
And I'm just like, oh, she's not the titular Ma who's like being fucking crazy.
Right. She's a mom in Nerve. She's in the mom era, unfortunately.
So she's a mom in Kelly and Cal, and I don't know if either of you saw this movie.
Didn't get to it.
I really like this. It got like a couple mixed reviews when it came out, and speaking of,
hello,
and I think it's because, you know, it like moves towards she's a mother, a recent mother who's like kind of in the midst of perhaps a postpartum depression, and her husband are not having sex the way she wants to, and she meets her 17-year-old next door neighbor who is a boy who was recently paralyzed in a car accident. And so they start this relationship, and unfortunately it does sort of become a romantic relationship, and that's the area I wish it sort of hadn't moved into. But I do like the meditation on depression and how depression often drives you to do things that you wouldn't necessarily do. And I think a lot of people forget that because they think like, oh, it's just a movie. But I was like, I actually think there's something a little deeper going on here, which is interesting. At the same time, there's a scene where she dyes her hair blue, and it's the worst wig I've ever seen. Like, it's not even a lace front, and she wears it for like 2 or 3 scenes, and I'm like, baby, like that is just a wig. Like,
the budget really was suffering on that one.
Absolutely. After this, it's a lot of TV, in all honesty.
Gem and the holograms.
Oh yeah, Gem and the holograms. Sorry,
yeah.
How could I forget that? Gem.
Oh boy.
What's her real name?
What is it? I used to watch Gem and the Holograms because I'm old.
Jerica.
Jerica, yes.
It's Jerica.
That's a fake name. Okay.
Jerica Gem Benton.
That movie sucks.
That movie sucks. And you know what? If they went the cartoon route, if they like did the like when she touches her earring and she says synergy at Showtime, and they did the whole like transformation shit, it'd be so much better.
Yeah, I was like, just lean into the campiness shit.
Right. It's so funny because this movie is everything that Josie and the Pussycats could have been if Josie and the Pussycats was bad.
Yes.
Because like she's once again to bring up the Parker Posey.
She is the Parker Posey.
She's the Parker Posey character.
Yeah. Yeah, and I thought the exact same thing. I said, Jem wants what Josie has.
Yeah.
And
couldn't have it.
And they couldn't have it because, I mean, this is directed by John Chu?
Yes.
And I was like...
In the Heights, John Chu.
In the Heights is John Chu. But like, I don't know what fucking rules Hasbro gave, but it was full... I was like, she's so outrageous. Where is it?
Truly, truly, truly outrageous.
I was like, this movie is just like teen girls on their like iPhones being like, I love myself because I have pink shit on my face. It's like, what the fuck? Who cares?
Yeah.
Boring.
Yeah, I unfortunately didn't get to watch this.
Good for you. Good. Don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And they like set it up for a sequel that's gonna be more like the cartoon, and
it's coming.
No, it won't. It failed.
No,
damn it.
John Chu's busy.
Yeah. And then, like you said, like I said, it's TV and moms. She's a mom in Nerve. She's a mom in the Ma. She's showing up on Roseanne / The Connors. She's doing a spot in the like very short-lived Jennifer Garner, David Tennant sitcom Camping, which I watched one episode of when it came out. Was like, Jesus Christ, we have sunk real low, everyone.
Evacuate the dance floor.
She does a guest spot on The Act, the Hulu show, and literally it is. And then she, after doing Ma with Tate Taylor, she also does a bit in Breaking News in Yuba County, which we mentioned last week.
Correct.
I've
which
never
is a movie
heard of that
hate.
until I started going through her movies. I'd never heard of it.
She's good at it though.
She's good. I will give her that. I fucking hate that movie though.
Yeah, it really sucks.
It's so bad.
Why is Tate Taylor famous?
The Help. So
when somebody tells you who they are the first time, etc.
Yeah. Gossipy sidebar.
Okay.
He wanted Juliette Lewis for Jessica Chastain's role.
Ah.
And she was busy.
Doing what?
I don't know.
Jamming the hologram?
Other things. Stuff.
Okay.
Touring. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, that was. No, you're right. Oh my God, you were right. Actually,
Yeah.
yeah.
She's like, I'm rock and roll right now, guys.
Yeah, I'm rock and roll.
I can't.
I'm painting my face.
Which leads us though.
Which, funny enough, she actually doesn't paint her face when she's in rock and roll mode. She doesn't go out on stage in makeup or anything.
her.
Yeah, she's like, I'm not interested in that.
But now, which most people would know her now is Yellow Jackets.
Yellow Jackets,
which people fucking love.
Which people
She's
love
great.
and is playing on that nostalgia of being the 90s it girl. I do just delve very quickly into personal life. In 1999, she married professional skateboarder Steve Barra. They divorced in 2003. I don't really know much about that relationship other than that.
I haven't heard her talk about it in anything, so yeah. I didn't know that.
She has had addiction problems in the past, and based on that documentary, sometimes she drinks now, sometimes she doesn't, because she, like, in the documentary, she injures herself at one point performing, and she's like, I really want a whiskey, but I decided I wasn't gonna drink for a year, and unfortunately we're still in that year. And,
Good for her. Yeah.
She, did complete Narconon, and she considers herself both spiritual and a Christian. And when she was involved in the Church of Scientology, she said, most people don't know, you can be both, you Scientologist, Christian. I also just think that's something Scientologists say.
Yeah.
But as of December 2021, she's no longer involved with them. Several accolades in terms of being philanthropic, and we like to talk about philanthropy on this show. Not a ton, and that's a more, maybe she just doesn't think it's her place, but she supported Little Kids Rock, which is a U.S. nonprofit organization that works to restore and revitalize music education in disadvantaged U.S. public schools, and it does so by painting a Fender Strat guitar and donating it to an auction to raise money for the organization.
Neat.
And that's it. That's all I've been able to find in terms of
the
charity.
most, like, celebrity type philanthropy I've ever
It's
heard
a
in my
fucking
life.
guitar. Have fun.
Yeah. We painted a guitar. Let's have some money.
But yeah, I think that really, it is a really interesting career because she did so much so young, and it's so concentrated in the 90s, and then it's very spread out and all over the place, and
very all over the place.
And she, she leaves the business to be a rock star for a while, and she really, when she's doing her rock star thing, she gets really offended when people are like, oh, you're an actor who's trying to be a rock star. So I think that sort of brings us to the present for Juliette Lewis. So why don't we get into the part that I know nobody really wants to do, but let's talk about her 1-star reviews, because there's a couple in the mix, and we got to get them out of the way.
Oh, goodness.
Kevin, my friend, I know it's tough.
Me first. Oh, no.
As our guest.
No.
As our guests, we like to torture our guests. You wanted to be here.
Should I go by her initial performance or the movie as a whole?
I pick performance. Louis sometimes does movie.
I'm controversial. It's a feeling. It's a feeling. It's a feeling. For me, it's mostly like, what offended you more? What did you is it the whole movie? Is it her? Like, whatever it is, if you came away being like that, I never want to fucking see that again.
Okay. Well, I got two different options. One, her worst performance is The Other Sister. She's committed, but boy howdy, it's embarrassing. The worst movie that I watched that she was in was Cold Creek Manor. But I can't. That's not a Juliette Lewis movie.
Sure.
But yeah, both of them 2 hours long, interminable. Get it out of here.
Get it out of here. He said.
Get it out of here. Yeah.
I know we talked a lot about The Other Sister. I mean, now's your opportunity to really give Cold Creek Manor the business. What was it that offended? Because I could tell you exactly when she, as a character, lost me, which was when she's like it's about a family and they move into a house, and you have Kristen Stewart as the daughter, who utters my favorite line in cinema history, in which she accuses her father she just goes, "You killed my pony." Brilliant line delivery. But anyways, it's a family that moves from the city into this dilapidated house that it's a real fixer-upper.
Okay.
And some strange shit starts happening, and it turns out it's actually Stephen Dorff, and he's like...
being a fucking freak.
Yeah, he's like a weirdo who killed his own family, and...
Put snakes in their house, real devious shit. Yeah.
And his girlfriend is Juliette Lewis, and Juliette Lewis, like, meets this family... and, like, hates them instantly, and I'm not sure why. But the moment she lost me is when they go out to eat, and she's, like, at the bar with them, but not with them, but, like, at the bar, and she's, like, eavesdropping, and she starts, like, making fun of them, like they're high-class British people, like, oh, did you look at the stock market today? And I was just like, what is happening? Why are we watching this?
Yeah.
We send everyone Christmas cards every year.
The Christmas cards.
But haven't gotten one back yet.
Okay, now this is a bit of a sore point, but I don't think it's anything personal, you know?
Did you guys get a card? I didn't get a card.
I got 2 cards.
Oh, you're kidding.
You didn't get it. I got a card.
I didn't get a card. I'm so upset.
Yeah, like you were saying, it was like marketed as like this haunted house, like type of Quaid is gonna find like the secret behind the house, and then he like starts to research it and has all these videos and whatnot, and then I feel like that just kind of just drops, and then they're just like, yeah, but we got the Stephen Dorff of it all to deal with, you know. Yeah, because growing up, I always thought, you know, I knew that nobody liked it, but I was just like, well, it's a horror movie, and I'm gonna have to watch it, but it's not even really a horror movie. It's like a thriller drama pony killing experience. I don't know.
I hate movies like that.
I know, it's the worst. But yeah, Cold Creek Men are very bad. Don't watch it.
Louis, I'm gonna let you take the next.
Okay. So I hemmed and hawed, just because I think even in the bad movies, she is mostly like giving it to me. You know, like I hated watching California, but I think she's so good. I think that one of the pleasures of watching Juliette Lewis is when she plays, because she does play a lot of women from the South or uneducated women. It feels like she's coming at it with so much love, and she doesn't judge these characters. She brings so much humanity, you know, and you just like, it's that thing like we talk about how, you know, sometimes when movies expect us to like people or characters, even though they give us no reason.
Yeah.
I think she brings so much goodwill. It's like you instantly do love this character, even though you're like, oh, this is kind of a fuck up thing you're doing. But so I'm choosing truly off of like what I think is a movie that she is giving nothing, is 2015's Gem of the Holograms. That movie is nothing. Like it's so weird because it's for a franchise that has an actual story, like that has actual, like you could go and find plots to like, you know, tell a story.
Yeah, there are hours of cartoon television. That's, trust me, my sisters had the dolls. Like
I'm just now realizing in this episode that movie is based on something. So
oh wow, yeah. A toy line too. Nonetheless, like Hasbro was very famous for creating toy lines and then creating cartoons to complement them to sell those toy lines. Yeah. It's a similar situation with He-Man, She-Ra,
yeah, and so. I don't know why they thought, like, I don't know what was happening in the world where they were like, Gem of Holograms needs to be rebooted or whatever.
Right. Especially getting John M. Chu to direct it, who I believe, and I might be...
He's a step-up guy.
He's a step-up guy, but also I think he directed the second G.I. Joe movie.
Yes.
Which they allowed to be, like, fantasy, like ninja. I mean, I guess like at a certain point you can't not have ninjas because it's G.I. Joe.
Right.
But like to like be like, no, Jem can't be like a superhero like she is in the show.
Right. She's just a normal girl. We're all Jem. And like it's one of the worst cliches that's in modern cinema is the like, are you seeing this? We're going viral. It's crazy.
Yes.
That fucking thing happens, and that's why Jem becomes famous. But to get to Juliette and her performance, I just think like she knows this movie is bullshit. She knows that nothing's happening here, and so she is giving just nothing. It's just like, this entertainment industry is tough, and you need to do it. And it's just like so wooden and stilted.
Jerica Benton, come over here.
Jerica Benton. You are cute and quirky. And no longer Jerica.
What do you mean?
What do I mean? What do you mean? What do I mean? The whole world wants to know who you are right now, which means so much free publicity. This is exactly the artist that Starlight has been looking for. Equal parts talent and mystery. Talent, mystery. Which reminds me, Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr, all of that, until further notice, none of it.
Whoever plays her son in this movie, he's like the hot guy from The Boy Next Door, the movie where Jennifer Lopez fucks the boy next door.
Titular role?
Yeah, he's the titular boy next door. But like this movie wants to be like fun music and like fun like adventure, but it's just so bad and so boring, and it sucks because like there are some really talented people in this movie.
Yeah.
And it is just like it feels like a movie that Hasbro or like I don't know Universal or whatever fucking like squeezed all the life out of, and we're just like put some wigs on it, write some reject songs from Haley Steinfeld and call it a day.
Not Haley Steinfeld.
The songs sound like Haley Steinfeld rejects.
Damn.
No shade to Haley, but a little bit of shade to Haley.
Yeah, I guess so.
So Gavin, what you got?
So I'm going to go with 2001's Picture Claire. I normally don't like picking movies that people probably won't see, but I didn't want to give it to Conviction because
Another movie nobody has seen? Okay.
But that's not the movie I've come to talk about. I've come to talk about 2001's
Picture Claire,
which was directed by Bruce McDonald, who we've brought up before because he directed Pontypool, which is a great...
Good time.
So good. A zombie movie that he says is not a zombie movie, but we talked about it in Zombies on Film, and I love that movie.
Yeah.
Hasn't he said he hates this movie?
Oh, yeah, well, he hates it because his relationship with this movie is complicated because he really thought they were making the first, like, Canadian film that would break through the mainstream in the United States, and then apparently the producer, micromanaged him to the extent that he ended up stealing the negative of the movie and making a documentary / director's commentary to it, which has now played film festivals.
Right. Isn't it called like Hat Claire or something?
Yeah, Claire's Hat.
Oh, yeah.
If anybody can find me this, I would fucking love to see it. As you mentioned, she plays a woman from Quebec. Spoiler alert, she does not speak with a Quebec accent. She speaks with a full French accent the entire movie.
I was like, wee, girly, I guess.
Yeah, she's not. And I know people from Quebec. I've met actual French people. She's not doing... I even brought Dan in at one point, my boyfriend, who like went to school in Quebec, and he was like, yeah, she's not doing Quebec. Like she's doing... But she speaks French the whole movie, and she ends up running across all these criminals. And like that's... I feel I would elaborate more, but the movie's kind of iffy on the whole thing. Mickey Rourke is...
I was going to say, Mickey Rourke's in it for a hot minute.
Yeah, until
I forgot. Yeah, wow.
Gina Gershon strangles him to death in a donut shop, and the movie starts... It's very Run, Lola, Run. It's that sort of style of editing. It's also got all these like really weird shard-type editing that they mix in.
Yes, oh my god.
Yeah.
I was like, there is some style things happening.
It's trying to be very showy. Also, it does this really weird thing where, so she's new to Toronto, and it makes Toronto feel incredibly small because she runs into the same 6 people constantly. And even to the point where there's a man who runs an antique store who also forges documents and like forges a bunch of stuff for Gina Gershon. And then these hired killers show up and kill him. And then Claire, Juliette Lewis's character, just happens to stumble onto his store, which is unlocked because these hitmen just left him dead in an unlocked store, which is deranged. On top of that, in that scene, suddenly there's a bunch of Wizard of Oz metaphor. She sees red shoes in the window.
Yes.
She puts on the red shoes. That man's dog starts following her. And I was like, what are we doing? Why are we doing this?
I mean, the thing is, like, that whole movie, she's just, like, running around the city with confusion face.
Yes.
Furrowed eyebrows.
Yeah.
And also the movie wants to eat its cake and have it too by being like, she doesn't understand English, except for when she does.
Right.
J'ai passé toute ma vie à Montréal. Depuis que je t'ai rencontré, les rues sont pas pareilles.
Can I help you?
Billy Stewart?
He's not here right now. He's, I think, a little nervous, Billy.
Oui, Billy.
Billy Stewart.
She's just like confused and sad, running around Toronto being like, Billy, 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 Billy. And it's like, what is going on? Humans do not behave this way.
I wish I could say this was her last collaboration with Bruce McDonald, but in 2019, she actually did a movie with him called Dreamland, which is a like pseudo follow-up to the credits scene in Pontypool.
Sure.
But she didn't have a lot to do in that movie. She gets to play a countess and laugh a lot, so that's fine. I watched that and was like, why? But yeah, this is a truly terrible performance. I don't know what they were asking of her.
Same.
But I can't imagine.
They said just furrow your eyebrows. Eyebrows. Yeah. Eyebrow work.
Yeah, and run around and being like, non. like, Billy.
Although the scene where she goes into the art institution and like tries to rip down her picture in there. Yes. It's like, what the fuck, dude?
Yes.
that was the funny part.
I felt like that movie could have been resolved a billion times.
Yeah. Somebody just picked up a fucking phone.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else that we should mention that we really didn't like was kind of in the dregs?
One that was kind of was kind of okay was My Louisiana Sky was a TV movie she did in like 2001. That was kind of okay, yeah.
Yeah, she got a nomination for that movie too. I just didn't bring it up because it's more on the TV side of things.
Yeah.
Very TV. I will say, Romeo's Bleeding is such a bonkers movie. It's you wanted a twist, huh? The movie.
Dulce Calhoun is truly terrible also, so yeah.
Oh yeah. I will say Open Road, which is a movie I did not even mention in the rewind, which is a Brazilian/American film in which literally a young half American, half Brazilian girl decides to like pretend to be poor because she can.
Yeah. And hate when that happens. Yeah.
And like I will say, the only reason it didn't make my 1-star review is that Juliette Lewis plays a gossipy restaurant owner that hires this girl at one point, and I was just like, she's living. She's having her life. She's just whispering behind her back, like, you know how that girl lives? Like, yeah. But it's a truly terrible film.
Also down there for me is The Evening Star, I would say.
Yes. I did not revisit it for this.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. That was going to be like, if I watch one more, it'd be that, since, it's terms of endearment sequel, blah, blah, blah. So
I will say that, the leading woman in this movie,
Shirley
MacLaine is so good in everything. Yeah. And the woman was literally born to play, like, women who fucking don't have time for your shit.
Real quick, like Room to Rent, because it was a nightmare to try to get that movie. So I want to touch on that real quick. Such a strange thing in her filmography, like a Bollywood movie, and she's like the only American in it. So strange.
I didn't hate it because I think it has that like early, not the stylization, but that early like feeling of Danny Boyle, that like indie that like indie early 2000s British feel. And I actually really liked her Marilyn Monroe impression the entire time. It wasn't like nuanced, but I don't think the character she was playing was going for nuance either.
No. I've given it lots of thought, and I've decided I can help you.
Yes, great, but you sound a little bit American. Don't you think it's gonna be a problem?
That's because I am American, silly.
The movie just takes a lot of fucking weird turns.
Yeah. She just like stopped being Marilyn.
Yeah. Like the reincarnation bit.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
That's what I mean by that like weird like 90s or 2000s like British indie energy where you're just like, where is this, like what is this movie?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Are we good with our 1 stars?
I think we're good with our 1 stars.
Okay.
Let's do our positive bit. Let's move into our 5-star reviews.
Yay! I mean, it's pretty easy for me. I think her best role is in Natural Born Killers. She's given I think of Juliette Lewis. I think of Natural Born Killers. Yeah. I think of her. As soon as I think of her listening to L7 in the opening and beating the shit out of rednecks and screaming, "Who's sexy now, fucker?" Like all the time.
So good.
No! There's no escaping here.
Who's the lucky one?
Eeny, meeny, miny, moe. Catch a redneck by its toe. If he hollers, let him go. Eeny, meeny, miny, moe. My mama told me to pick the best one, and you are it!
When did you like first, like you guys saw this movie like back in...
Oh, I saw it at way too young of an age. I mentioned on this show before that I had HBO illegally, and so when it like came on HBO and I wanted to see it, you know, it's like what, 95?
94, yeah.
94. So I was like 11. and
you were like, who's sexy now, fucker?
Yeah.
Like walking around.
Me and my blonde wig.
Yeah.
But yeah, so when were you first introduced to this?
It had to have been like early middle school. I probably fell down the rabbit hole around that time of watching all the Tarantinos, and then I was like, oh, he wrote this and blah blah blah. And of course, in like 6th or 7th grade, this was like the greatest fucking movie ever.
Yeah.
And then and just the rewatch of it and just how much it's tanked, but also it's this little 90s curio. It thinks it's doing so much, and it's so in your face, and it's just so
weird.
Yeah, it's just such a strange product of its time that I will continue to go back to and then be like, why did I rewatch this? And then like months later I'll be like, man, that was really good, wasn't it? And then I'll eventually rewatch it and be like, quit making this movie up in your mind. It's not that good. But it's just fascinating regardless.
I also think what's interesting about it too is there was a lot of fear, specifically in the late 80s, but really came around in the 90s in terms of filmmaking. I mean, there's a lot of fear for other reasons for this movie, but in terms of filmmaking of the like supposed MTV takeover of what film was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I almost feel like part of this was like Oliver Stone being like, you want to see a fucking MTV movie? You want to see a music video expanded into 2 hours? I'll fucking give it to you.
Mm-hmm.
And so like it has that quality. It's so, you know, not to assign a human quality to something inanimate, but it has such manic energy. It's so all over the place, and it's never the same thing from 1 minute to the next, and it's fascinating. And like I said earlier, you know, it's hard to deny the fact that it's a masterpiece, regardless of if you hate it or if you love it, because a masterpiece could still be a bad thing.
Yeah. I mean, to illuminate a little bit, I guess, of the story, it's, you know, this young woman, she meets this fucking crazy guy, and he's like, let's get the fuck out of here. They kill her parents because Rodney Dangerfield is molesting. Yeah, and they basically just go on the run. A lot of this movie is about like what makes a murderer, what's a demon, what's like the devil. Like
that's what I was gonna say. Is there's definitely also a lot of like really unfortunate like 90s guru self-help like
native, all the native stuff.
Yeah, all the native stuff, and like how we thought about mental health in the 90s, and and pop psychology, I believe, is what I was reaching for.
Yeah,
reaching, Your Honor.
Yeah, but it very much feels that way though, because it's very much like. We all could be murderers.
Yeah.
Am I the devil or are you the devil? Like, am I, like, Woody Harrelson's like, am I the bad guy or are you, Robert Downey Jr., the bad guy? Like, are you all who romanticize? There's so many cuts of people being like, oh, I love them. They're amazing. They're so fucking cool.
Yeah, they get like a Bonnie and Clyde type reputation because they sort of tour the country murdering people.
Yeah.
But like, Juliette Lewis's character has romanticized it in her mind that they're like, they're only killing those who deserve it. And Woody Harrelson is... not. So, you know.
Yeah.
And it's set to Nine Inch Nails music, so I have to love it on some level, yes.
Very good pick, Kevin. I again hemmed and hawed, but I think I have to go with Cape Fear. I just think she's so. It upsets me that I'm choosing something so early in her career.
No, I get it though. I do get it, and she did get her Academy Award nomination for it, which once again, like. The Academy Awards don't matter until they do, as I'm very fond of saying.
I just think that her performance there is so intricate and layered and interesting, and it's one of the few spots where she gets to play fragile and, you know, young woman who is eventually going to be taken advantage of, but is not, you know, complete, like not from the get-go broken, not from the get-go, like, you know, and a lot of those other movies in that era, like, it's like she's introduced and it's like, here is this broken girl. Here she is, you know, who was molested, was, there's a lot of movies where she's fucking molested by her father figure.
Yeah. And that's, I was going to bring that up earlier too, because when we were talking about California and she has that horrific story about being raped when she was 13.
Yeah.
It's just like, why is this the background for
a lot of her characters?
But I think it goes back to that 90s pop psychology that everybody wanted to be like, there's a reason that you're this way. And because you're a woman, it has to be some sort of sexual assault.
Right.
Yeah.
And so this is a movie though that, even though the bad guy eventually wants to get there, that's like the goal for him, right? To fucking ruin this lawyer's life who broke some fucking rule and didn't show that the woman he raped was like a sex worker or whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
He wants to ruin his life and take away, the innocence in his life of the daughter and his wife, Jessica Lange. But, she's able to be just a teenage girl who is exploring her relationship with her parents and growing up.
My parents brought me here.
Off colors. Where's sexes?
Back at the house.
Shame. I had hoped we could read aloud from it together.
Well, I memorized some for you.
Did you?
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah.
Well, I'm impressed. Which part?
The part. You know what part,
I don't think you did your homework.
That scene in the auditorium is just so good. It's so fucking good. They keep asking her to do it in movies after that, it's just, and it fucking works. In these horrible movies where she has to, or she's playing, these women who've gone through horrible things, they are echoes of this character in Cape Fear. So
when Scorsese was doing that scene, she said that one of the best things anybody's ever said is when they were doing that auditorium scene, he was like, I might have to do this as split screen because I don't know who to cut to because you both are just amazing.
And she said he was really smart to roll two cameras because you don't often do that when you do a movie, to have two cameras simultaneously rolling on.
Yeah, both actors. She's so young. She's so young, and she's just so good. She's so good. And again, this is not a performance that's her. I think a lot of people, when you think of Juliette Lewis, you'll think of the yelly type roles, the kind of off the wall roles. She doesn't do that until obviously the very end when he's fucking attacking her.
Mm-hmm.
But she's giving so much, even in those other places in the movie. It's just so good.
Big Oscar fans often talk about category fraud, which I think is a little silly, and I think a lot of people get in their feelings about it. But I would argue that she is more the lead female in it than Jessica Lange. She starts the movie, she ends the movie. A lot of it is about her relationship to De Niro.
I think this is a case of the 90s where there was no lead woman role. It's literally the
Jessica Lange apparently had to ask Scorsese to put in a scene of her talking to De Niro because the original script didn't have it. I do also want to point out, by the way, this movie was originally set to be directed by Steven Spielberg. And Scorsese was interested in doing Schindler's List. And Spielberg was like, you should do this movie. This is this will cross you into the mainstream in terms of popcorn movies, and I'll do this other dramatic movie. And Scorsese read the script 3 times while making Goodfellas, and he said he hated it because he hated the family because they were just too nice.
Yeah,
and I love that. I love that he was like, no.
The family in this Cape Fear is too nice.
Well, then he
okay, good. I was like, please.
But yeah, I love Cape Fear. I also think
it's great.
So I'm gonna, I was debating actually both of those. So I think I'm gonna go in a different direction just because I think it's certainly not going to win me the mixed reviews poll, which I don't care about.
Okay, someone's lying.
This week, I don't care about. My ego isn't based on winning, but I'm going to go with What's Eating Gilbert Grape.
Oh, okay.
As I've mentioned before, I have issues with this movie, but I think she's particularly very great in this film. Yeah. She plays Becky, her and her grandmother, sort of not even whirlwind into town. She's such a soft. That's what I like about her performance in this movie. Is she's such a soft,
gentle breeze into town.
Exactly. They're stuck in town when the international harvester breaks down and it was pulling their trailer. And she sort of, she meets this young Gilbert, who's this kind of shy, introverted guy. He has a mother who, after his father died, doesn't leave the house because she's ashamed about the weight that she's gained. And he has these two kind of comically overbearing sisters, which I was like, they're not terrible, but like they're enough that I was just like, what are we doing with these two characters? And then he has this younger brother, Arnie, who has developmental issues, and he's like afraid to share his life with someone because of these things.
Yep.
Right.
And also he's having an affair with Mary Steenburgen, which, rewatching this, I was like, this is why I thought Mary Steenburgen was so hot when I was a kid.
I fucking love her in this movie.
I love her too, but I was like, is it the Ted Danson Gulliver's Travels? No, it was What's Eating Gilbert Grape.
Yeah, of course.
But she represents this soft innocence to him. The Mary Steenburgen of the world sort of represents this forbidden fruit, and he's like doing this thing that he knows is bad because it's like gratification for him, because I think it's something for himself. It's something for himself, and he doesn't see a life outside of his family. He doesn't see a life outside of this town. He feels very trapped and oppressed by the people around him, which in a way you could say is actually a little bit selfish too, because he has put himself in this sort of like savior role, and nobody else can do anything but him.
Yep.
And she sort of comes into his life and realizes, teaches him that like things can be breezier, and it's not all about the face that having to put on a mask to show the world. It doesn't have to be tough all the time. And I don't know, there's something sweet and innocent. Once again, I do also kind of feel bad picking something so early on in her career, but I love that it is so different, because this is she's not the person I would have cast in this role if this was the 90s.
Right.
But because she's such a formidable presence, she becomes so memorable to me that she's able to come in, and he gets to introduce her to his mom, something he didn't want to do before. And he says some awful things about his mom.
Yeah.
And truly,
Mm-hmm. And that scene particularly is really good though, because the mom, with so much shame, says, I wasn't always this way. And then just like, without missing a beat, and just like the most easy breezy line delivery, she's like, I haven't always been this way either.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, God.
and that's what did it for me, too.
Hello.
Hi.
I haven't always been like this.
I haven't always been like this.
I'm not always for this sort of... There are elements of like after schooly specialness to it. It's a very Lasse Hallström film. I don't want to shy away from that, but I think the gentleness with which she comes into the film and permeates the scenes in which she's in, but also the force that is underneath it all, the Juliette Lewis of it all. And she said in interviews, like, she didn't get into acting to play herself.
In my heart of hearts, I'm a character actress who I didn't start making movies to play myself on screen, or to be pretty or to be liked. You know what I mean? I sort of want to create visceral experiences for my audiences.
And I don't think she's playing herself here, but I think there's an element of her that shines through that makes me really magnetized to her character and all the scenes she's in. So yeah. So I love her performance in What's Eating Gilbert.
Lovely. If I had to choose like a second one that I would pick, it would be That Night, just because.
Oh yeah,
I love that movie.
So sweet. Yeah.
If we're talking feel good, it doesn't get any feeling better than That Night.
Absolutely.
So good.
There are other movies.
Strange Days.
Strange Days. Yes. How could you not talk about Strange Days? But once again, not
a
her
Juliette
movie.
Lewis movie.
Yeah, that's the
Whip It.
Whip It. The other one that I really genuinely liked, and unfortunately, like I said, the reviews were really kind of middle of the road for it, was Kelly and Cal, and I like seeing her do something weirder at this moment in her life and be like I can play a normal person, but like.
Yeah, 2014 was a good indie year for her, because that was the same year she did Hellion, which I thought was really good too.
Yeah,
like, a different level for her.
Before we get into our fast forward, let's do our mixed review.
My 1-star review was The Other Sister from 1999, and my 5-star review was Natural Born Killers from 1994.
My 1-star review was 2015's Gem in the Holograms.
Oh boy.
And my 5-star review was 1991's Cape Fear.
My 1-star review was 2001's Picture Claire. And as it should be said in a Picture Claire.
Picture that.
And my 5-star review was 1993's What's Eating Gilbert Grape.
All right, let's get into our fast forward.
Starting on Thursday, June 9th, 2022, is Peacock's reboot of Queer as Folk.
Yes.
And so she plays a character in this. This is a new iteration of the famous 1999 British series that Russell T Davies created that was loosely adapted from 2000 to 2005 in Showtime. Stephen Dunn, who's at the helm of this, is like, we're not doing the Showtime show, we're doing the British show. And so he's like, changed it up. And I like Stephen Dunn. He did Closet Monster, which was a movie I really loved from about 5 years ago.
I saw that.
And also, funny enough, the original director of Fire Island, when it was going to be a Quibi TV show.
Wow.
And then I'm excited to see that.
I play a mother of a queer son who wants to do drag and all these things, and loosely based on the creator's relationship with his mom. And it was really an honor for me to represent their beautiful relationship.
There is something inherently queer, I think, about Juliette Lewis. She just is like a badass woman who takes no shit. And it really does feel like she's back in her TV era. Because Yellow Jackets was a huge hit. I'm sure she'll be back for more.
Yeah.
I think she's kind of doing, we've talked about this before, I think she's kind of doing supplemental TV gigs to be like, I can do this for this concentrated period of time and get the money from it. And then, which is not to say that she's not passionate about these things. She has said the reason she did Yellow Jackets was she read the script and was like, this is the best script I've read in a long time. Though she also did publicly state that she wasn't necessarily pleased where the writers went with her character.
Oh!
So she's a lady who knows what she likes. And,
that's great.
But I think that's what she's doing. She's doing these concentrated pockets of TV, so then she can be like, and now I'm my music career. You know? She's only 47. She's not even 50 yet.
That's
so
insane.
Wow. Yeah,
she's been with us so long.
Yeah, and she's very anti-plastic surgery, so she's gonna age. And
good for her.
Yeah,
good for her. What do we want to see from Juliette going forward? Kevin, it sounds like you really want her in that Ookie Spooky movie, huh?
Oh yeah, but I feel like if she was, she would just be the mom of some girl being like, "Hey, don't do that." So I'm not going to get a leading role from her, but that would be awesome. But yeah, just more leading roles. I'm not really interested in her just being the mom, like in Nerve and stuff like that. Like I want to see her on full display, and every time she plays a mom, and she's always like in a scene for like a scene or two, like in Hick also. And it's just like you don't get all of her, and I want all of her like in Cape Fear, like in Natural Born Killers, like in all that. There's well-rounded characters, she's very good at that. So yeah, I want more leading roles for her.
I have two very specific like wants and unwants. I say this, I feel like I say this close to every episode. I want to see her on stage, but I don't want to see her like on Broadway unless she's doing like fucking Hedwig. I want to see her as Hedwig and Hedwig and Ingrid.
Yeah.
Like she needs to be able to spit and cuss and gnash her teeth and really dig into it. So like I'd love to see her perform. You know what I don't want for her? I don't want a Marvel property for her. No. I don't, because that's exactly what she would be doing in a Marvel property. Is she'd be like, I'm Darkhawk's mom. And that's,
Jesus Christ.
And I don't want that. And so you're right. I want leading roles. I want juicy bits. And I don't mind it when she shows up and can do that like flashiness or even like I said in Gilbert Grape and do something a little bit deeper, but still have that spark to it. But it's so much fun to watch her in the lead and to be able to take the reins and do something. And I know there's got to be a project out there just like waiting for her.
Yeah. I mean, Yellow Jackets, she's phenomenal in that, but that's also like, she's
big
not
ensemble.
it's a huge ensemble. You're going back and forth through time and whatnot. And through a lot of the episodes, I'm just like, I wish it would just stay in the present day. We're doing too much going back and forth, But
on the same track of the fact that she's so young, Yellow Jackets is the first time she's ever had somebody play a younger version of herself. She has said, so it was really weird for her to be like, oh, I'm that age.
Yeah.
I like her in rom-com mode.
Oh, really?
Unfortunately, there are just so many bad ones.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I think she plays being in love so well, and she has so much chemistry with everybody. Like I believe her when she's telling us that she's in love with these men, and oh my god, and Too Young to Die when she's like, when the army dude's telling her to get the fuck out, and she's just like, love me, play. Like, I was like, holy fuck.
So you want her in An Accidental Husband? You just want an accidental husband.
I just want her, I like her being soft. I like her being like flirty and like the wink wink. Maybe it's just because I'm so enamored by That Night. And that's what I really want. I miss the rom-coms where it's like not just like there's a lot of emotional stakes, you know, and not like murder and blah. It's like I know she can do that. We know.
Yeah.
We know. Right. So but again that's just like they're not making those movies anymore, and I don't know that they will start again. But I would like to see it, and I agree with you because she's a singer. Put her on stage.
Put her on stage. Yeah.
Put her off Broadway. Yeah, let's do it.
There are plenty of rock musicals that deserve either to get produced in the first place or to get revived.
Yeah,
and I'd love to see her do it.
Louis wants more catch and releases. That's you heard it here.
Can we get? Okay, but also her most iconic performance. Probably that Instagram video of her singing along to Britney Spears. Do you remember that?
Yes. Oh my god.
I forgot all about that. Yeah.
That's a performance.
That was around the time that I was like, is she still a Scientologist? Now I'm nervous.
Isn't she's like, is this thing on? Are we okay? What the hell's going on?
Can't you save us, Britney Spears? Can we be saved?
That's the energy we need.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. Kevin, thank you so much for bringing us.
Yeah, this was a fun, wild ride.
Wild ride.
Wild.
Ups and downs.
Oh, yes. Thank you guys so much. This is a dream. Love you guys. Love the show so much.
That can't be possible. You have bigger dreams than that.
I don't. Anyways,
Kevin, tell the listeners, where can we find you, your show, and all the amazing things that you're doing?
You can find me spewing bullshit about new metal on Twitter at KevBonesy. I have a weekly movie podcast called Almost Major, where we talk about many major studios and the films they release. Right now we're talking about artisan films. Gavin was on it, and on the next miniseries, you both are going to be on it, and that's going to be great. But yeah, we do that every week with my co-host Charlie Nash and Bryden Doyle, and it's a lot of fun. If I was not a part of it, I would listen to it. That's how much it's niche and how much I love it. I listen to it all the time. I love it.
And you're also fucking smart. I hate it.
Yeah, we try. But yeah, 1000%. Your guys' podcast, huge inspiration for me starting mine. So keep continuing what you're doing.
We love Almost Major.
Yes.
And I am so bummed that I missed the time Gavin was on. But every time you guys post like the movies that you have coming up, I'm like, oh my god, I fucking remember that movie. It's like such a fucking crazy and so it is so niche, but it is this like pulling at threads in the back of my brain. So cannot recommend enough. Thank you for coming on.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys.
And if you want to compliment us the same way Kevin keeps doing, buttering us up, you can always find us on Twitter at The Mixed Reviews.
We're on Facebook, just type in The Mixed Reviews.
You can email us at reviewsmixed@gmail.com.
We're on Instagram at _mixed_reviews.
And if you want to listen to our back catalog like you've listened to this entire episode, you can find us on a plethora of podcast apps. We're on Apple, Spotify, Google, Stitcher, Audible.
And all the things.
And also, if you do listen to us on Apple Podcasts, please stop by there, leave us a 5-star rating. Yes, I said 5 stars. And write us a little review. We are now up to 75 by the end of 2022. I want to have 100.
We're also on TikTok, toxically.
Yes, we're toxically on TikTok.
Let me follow that.
It has been a 95% positive experience, and thank you. And I already made a friend of another podcast, so who knows?
We're just making connections left and right.
Absolutely.
It's Pride Month, and that is amazing. We have like merch and stuff on Redbubble from our last year's Pride collection.
Yes.
But it's really fucking cool.
It is.
So you should
all the art is by Louis. Louis is an amazing artist.
Thank you. So you guys can check that out.
Wait, you do all the art?
Yeah,
Oh
he's
my
very
goodness.
good, isn't he?
Wow. Yeah, I wanted to...
I gotta do something. Jesus. Gavin does so much work for this podcast, including dealing with the angry teens on TikTok. Yes, all good things. Be safe out there, and we will be back in 2 weeks with another episode. Thanks, Kevin, and we'll see you guys next time.
Bye-bye.